Hey, Coach Colin Castello here with Shot Mechanics Basketball. And today I've got something different for you. We're going to do LaMelo Ball's shooting secrets. All right, so LaMelo Ball absolutely became a phenomenal this last high school and AAU season. He's really kind of blowing up the scene. And in the past, I haven't really done any high school players in this series because I felt like I wanted to save it for kind of those pro levels. But I've got so many requests in the last few weeks to do the LaMelo Ball shooting secrets, especially after that 92-point game, that I felt like to do you guys right, I had to bring it to you. So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna break down his form, we're gonna break down his mechanics, and talk about the things that he does great and the things that maybe he could improve that can probably help your jumper as well. Now, before we jump into it, don't forget you can get a free copy of my 7-day shooting challenge. This is a shooting challenge that's going to change the way you think about your shot in only 7 days. You're going to get 7 days of workout. Absolutely phenomenal. I highly recommend it, and it's 100% free for the limited time only. So all you got to do, click the button above or the link in the description down below to get a free copy of that, and you can have instant access today. So, as we jump into LaMelo Ball's mechanics, I'm going to start with his feet and work our way up the body. So the very first thing you notice about his mechanics are his feet. Now he's got a little bit of a staggered stance, right? Meaning that his right foot is a little bit further in front than his left foot. And he's got a little tilt, a very slight tilt of his feet, where his feet are tilted just barely off to the left because he's a right-handed shooter. Now, what's interesting about LaMelo is I think if he tilted his feet a little bit more, he'd probably actually improve his shooting just a little bit. Because what we notice is as he brings the ball up, he starts to get a little bit of a chicken wing as he comes through.
So after digging deeper, I did notice that LaMelo gets a better tilt when he's pulling up off of the dribble. And this is probably one of the reasons why he's so deadly off of the pull-up. Another thing we notice is that he has the tendency to kick his right leg out, especially when his dominant foot or his right foot is pointed towards the rim when he begins his shot. Now this leg kick happens because his body's naturally trying to get the tension out of his shoulders and upper body. So he could probably increase his consistency just a little bit if he turned his dominant foot just slightly so it matched his off foot.
So key number one that you want to think about is your feet. Now everybody's going to be a little bit different, right? Some people like a stagger, some people like it more squared, some people like a little bit of a tilt, some people like a big tilt. It's up to you to figure out exactly what works best for you. But you can check out LaMelo with a little tilt, little stagger, and see if that helps you out. All right, so the next thing you notice with LaMelo is he has a great feet drift, meaning that when he shoots, he doesn't land in the exact same spot as he takes off. Most of the time when he shoots, his feet come forward and land a little bit more narrow, closer to the basket, right? Now, a lot of coaches will tell you that this is bad and you don't want to do it because you're landing off balance. But really, if we break down the footage, when he releases the basketball, his feet are still in a pretty good position, right? The idea is if I was releasing the basketball and I was already falling back before the ball was released, then it's going to affect your shot. But what we see with LaMelo and a lot of great shooters, if you release the ball and then your feet come through, that allows that tension to release out of your shoulders and that momentum and power to kind of pendulum through your body into the basketball. That's one of the reasons why he can shoot from so deep, is because his feet help that power come through. So when you're shooting, think about trying to land a little closer to the hoop than where you started. So that might be, if you're on the three-point line here, that might be that your heels land inside the three-point line. That might mean that you get a bigger one inside of the three-point line. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. Some people like to come forward a little bit. Some people like to come forward a lot. It's up to you to find out exactly where you need to be on that feet sweep coming forward. All right, so the next thing that you see on LaMelo's jumper is that he gets great low load from the basketball and his hips, meaning that as he's getting ready to shoot, the basketball doesn't stay high up by his chest. It loads a little bit lower, kind of more down by his waist and down by his stomach. Now, at the same time as he's loading that basketball a little bit lower, he's also loading his hips at the same time. And so what you notice is as he's getting ready to shoot, because he's loading lower, sorry, that's hard to say, as he's loading lower, his hips and the basketball fire at the exact same time. So as his hips go up, the ball goes up. Now this is where he gets a ton of his power from, right? We've all seen the clip where he points at half court, pulls up and drains it, right? Most players can't do that because they don't get that hip load and they don't get that low load on the basketball, right? A lot of players will put it up here by their chest. They'll just get just a little bit of bends in their hips, and then they're kind of fighting that power and it has to turn into a throw to get it there. But he maximizes his upward momentum so well because he loads the basketball a little lower, loads those hips, and then fires them quickly all at the same time, maximizing that upward momentum through his body and into the basketball. So for you, think about where that works best for you, right? You might have been told to stay in triple threat right here your whole life, but if you load that basketball just a little bit lower, gives you that extra pop, upward momentum, a lot of times can give you a much better range, 2, 3, 4 feet, just by changing that one thing. All right, so as we move away from the lower body, we're gonna start to kind of move to LaMelo's upper body. And the first thing you notice is his hand position on the basketball. Now, a lot of times people say that you have to have your hand behind the basketball just like this. But what you notice is LaMelo actually has his hand on top of the basketball. So as he loads it, he brings it up and he locks his wrist as it's getting to his set point. So he doesn't lock his wrist early right here. He keeps it on top, comes up to his set point, which is about by his nose. Boom, locks it right here, and then that way he can snap forward on his jumper. So I highly recommend you play with your hand position. On top works for some players. On the side actually works for some players, which is kind of the same motion, but you're rotating in it at the same time. We call that the palm rotation. But with LaMelo, he's all about that hand on top of the ball. That way his hand gets right underneath of it and he can generate all that power through his forearm into the basketball towards the hoop. So you want to play around with your hand position. Having your hand behind the basketball is not going to work for everybody. So think about shifting it up, side, or side top and seeing what works best for you, because you might get better results just by playing around with that right away. All right, so next we move on to his release portion of his jump shot. We're going to talk about his set point, right? And the set point's that point where as the ball comes up, the set point is where it starts releasing towards the basket. Now you notice with LaMelo, he's actually got a lower set point than most kind of elite level players, and it's kind of down by his nose. Meaning, a lot of times like Kobe Bryant, his set point's gonna be up here above his head. Somebody like Steph Curry, it's gonna be here by his eyebrow. With LaMelo, it's a little bit lower down by his nose, kind of right in this area. And that's totally normal because you gotta remember, LaMelo is still a sophomore. He's physically going to mature, he's gonna get stronger, so it's not weird to have a low set point at this stage of his life. I think as time goes on, he's probably gonna wanna raise it a little bit because that'll help some of his other mechanics. But, so you notice that as he brings it up, it's almost like he's getting his fingers to point directly towards his nose, and that's one thing that's kind of causing that elbow to come out on him just a little bit. It doesn't cause him much of misses, but for you, it's all about finding what works best for you, right? That's what this video is all about. So yours might be at your nose, it might be a little bit lower by your chin, maybe you're younger and it's down here by your chest. That's okay. As you get older, as you get stronger, you want to keep raising it up till at some point you can kind of be up by your forehead or up by your eyebrow, right? That's kind of the general goal you want to get to if at all possible. But for LaMelo, it works to have it right at his nose. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is his early targeting with his eyes. And basically that just means that he gets his eyes on the target or the rim super early in his jump shot. And I think that this is probably one of the main reasons why LaMelo is an absolutely phenomenal shooter, even though he's got some kind of interesting form and technique. Because shooting is like any hand-eye coordination sport, right? The longer you aim at something, the more accurate you're gonna be. And what I noticed when breaking down the LaMelo footage is he is laser focused on that target long before he goes into his jump shot, right? What we see with a lot of players is they're getting ready to shoot, maybe they get a pass, maybe it's off the dribble, and they'll find the hoop right when the ball reaches their set point, right about here, right? But if you watch the LaMelo footage over and over again, he's locating and locking on that target even when his last dribble hasn't even come down. So like let's say he's pulling up going to his right, his last dribble a lot of times is hitting the floor and his eyes are already up on the target and he's gathering without even looking at the basketball and targeting that whole time, right? Remember, you want to think about your brains like a supercomputer, right? The longer you can aim at something, the more it can make those calculations on how fast you're moving, how far you are away from it, where the defenders are at, all that sort of good stuff. So with LaMelo, his eyes are on target really early as he's coming out of that dribble. He's not looking at his last dribble and then finding the hoop. He's going up, eyes are up, all the way through, stroke on. So the key is to get your eyes on target as early as you possibly can. A lot of times you'll find out you'll make a lot more shots immediately just by thinking about this. All right, so next as we move into his release, we're gonna talk about his thumb push or his two-handed shot. Now this is something that he probably wants to improve in the next few years as he gets older, as he gets stronger. And I think a lot of this could probably be solved if he just tilted his feet just a little bit more, because that would bring his shooting elbow under alignment just a little bit. But what you'll notice is as he comes up and he's getting ready to shoot, his left hand, his thumb on his guide hand starts to push it forward. Now, a lot of coaches will tell you don't thumb the basketball, and I think if everything's equal, it's probably best not to thumb the basketball, but if it works for you and gets results, then don't fix it, right? When it comes to shooting, it's all about if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And so if you could shoot a high percentage and a high clip with having a thumb flick, that's okay, unless it's causing your misses and you want to try to work that out. Now, you can think about guys like Kyrie Irving had a bit of a thumb flick when he first came to the league. He's kind of got rid of it a little bit. But you'll notice that LaMelo gets this thumb flick right as he brings the ball up to his set point, and it's just a little tiny snap, and then he finishes and kind of follows through pretty decently with his offhand follow through. So although it is a bit of a two-handed shot, I think it's something that LaMelo could switch up very easily, probably in just like a summer of development, and still be lights out, and possibly even more so afterwards. So, I wouldn't highly recommend using a thumb flick, but it's something that if it's working for you and getting results, I wouldn't switch until you absolutely have to. All right, so next, LaMelo's got a great release angle. So when he's getting ready to shoot the basketball and he snaps it off towards the hoop, you'll notice that his shooting elbow is generally above his eye line, right? If we can draw a straight line out from my eyes, his elbow is above that line. Now this is important because it gives you optimized arc. So combine that with the feet sweep that we talked about earlier, that's going to give him that optimized arc, so the ball mathematically has a better chance of going in because he's got better arc. A lot of players that are a little bit younger, maybe not quite as physically developed, need to push the basketball at a flatter angle towards the basket, and because of that, mathematically they have a smaller target to hit, so mathematically they're going to make less shots. So think about, just like LaMelo, when you're getting ready to shoot, try to get your elbow above your eye line, and if you can do that, you're gonna hit more shots immediately. All right, if this video helped you out, go ahead and hit that like button, and then hit the comment section down below and let me know what sort of video you wanna see next. This is a channel for the people, by the people, and I run pretty much everything off request, so leave it down below and hopefully we get to it. And if you're new to shot mechanics, you're gonna wanna do two things. Number one, hit that subscription button because we put out videos every week and they're all gonna get you better, I guarantee it. And the second thing you're gonna do is click the button down here and get free access to my 7-day shooting challenge. This is a challenge that's gonna revolutionize the way you think about your jumper in 7 days. You know, normally I would charge for this program, but it's 100% free for you today. All you gotta do is click that button and get access instantly. Again, I'm Coach Colin Castello with Shot Mechanics Basketball. Thanks for watching, and until next time, splash on.